Welcome to another episode of Founders Club. Today I'm here downtown San Diego at Whip Hand Brasserie and Beer Bank. Going to be having a great conversation with Andrew Greer, the founder of Thomas Strafford Investments, on everything you need to know about qualified opportunity zones. We're going to be talking about all the tax advantages.
The biggest benefit of the opportunity zone is after 10 years, you pay no tax on the appreciated value at all.
How to find those types of deals and what to do once you find them.
Good arterial line, which is what I look for with development, is where the bus is going, follow the buses, and then build one or two blocks off of them.
Oh, that's a good tip. If you didn't pick that up, that's a really good tip.
Yeah, quite literally, if you're looking for high density development in undeveloped areas, that's the way to do it. It's funny, that actually is a really good tip. I didn't even know that.
That's a great tip, man. Thank you for that. Look forward to jumping in. If you like it, give us a subscribe, leave a comment, leave us a like, and we'll see you on the inside. Sitting here with Andrew, about to enjoy a couple of these beers straight from the beer bank here at Whip Hand. I'm going to be trying a Gravity Heights what does it change? Jesus Christ. Cheers for Sarah. I'm going to be trying the Gravity Heights Cheers for Sarah Hazy IPA, and Andrew's drinking a
Tangerine Express by Stone Brewing.
Stone Brewing. Fantastic. So we're going to be talking about opportunity zones and getting started. So according to the IRS, an opportunity zone is an economically distressed community where new investments under certain conditions may be eligible for preferential tax treatment.
Correct. That actually sounded like I was interviewed by a cop at first.
Exactly. Sir, I have to ask you a few questions. But so why don't we talk about first, where did this come from and why are they doing it? And then let's talk about all the amazing things that come from these opportunity zones and then how to take advantage of them.
Yeah. So first off, they started with the Jobs Act. So in 2017 is part of Trump's tax plan. They started the opportunity zones. And basically they took disenfranchised census districts, 8,500 of them, and the governors of each state applied for them, and those 8,500 were approved based on being very low income areas.
Got it.
And we'll go over later why 2010 is such an important year, but to just kind of put the pin in that for you, think about how things are very different from 2010 and how that could possibly affect which one of these zones are more beneficial. So they open this up, and essentially if investors come in with capital gains to invest, they can have their capital gains basis deferred, reduced, and then essentially have all their gains wiped free off the slate if they meet a few requirements, including how much you have to develop, what thresholds you meet, and how quickly you develop. So, and I can go over all those finer points.
We'll jump into all that here for sure, because I think the tax advantages are some of the best I've seen in real estate in a long time. I think there's some unbelievable opportunities that are going to come from it. But did I hear you say that there's 8,500 of these zones in the U.S.?
Yeah, there's 8,500. I think it's 8,517.
And they just looked at different areas based on whatever income factors, whatever determined them to be low income. And then the whole point is to incentivize investors to come in there and then spend money to redevelop those areas?
100%, yeah. So they had to be very low income. The governor of each state had to apply for those census districts. They had to get approved. And the idea is to pour investor money into these areas by increasing the benefit to the investors.
Got it.
So,
makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
it's a win-win for everybody.
I wouldn't say one of the coolest things that's ever happened to real estate. It's probably the coolest thing and the most beneficial thing that I've ever seen. It makes the 1031 look
significantly less awesome than it was a few months ago.
Exactly.
Tell me a little bit about how the program works. I don't want to get too far into the tax stuff because I think we're going to get to that and I want to go really deep on that. But 30,000 feet up, how does the Opportunity Zone program work?
Yeah, so an investor sees a capital gain. It can be short-term, it can be long-term. And they take those funds, they put them into a qualified opportunity zone fund, which can be just an LLC. It could be an actual fund. That fund invests into a qualified opportunity zone property. And to go super 3,000 foot level on it over the first 31 months, they double the basis in spend on the property. So that means $500,000 basis in the property. You have to spend another $500,000 on it within the first 31 months.
Got it. In order to qualify.
In order to qualify.
For all the benefits.
Yeah. Otherwise, there's a million ways to work around that to extend it, but you have to be on that track.
Okay. So to give an example of that, let's say it's $1 million property and it's a multi-unit or whatever, and you need to put, let's say, 30% down, so $300K. So in order for that to qualify, you'd have to commit another $300K into redeveloping that property?
No. It's actually more complicated than that.
Okay.
The basis would be, so you have your land value and your asset value, the building. So let's just say the building was worth $700,000. You put $300,000 in, you need to spend $700,000 in redevelopment. So it's not a small amount of money that has to be spent.
Got it.
So it's the basis
double.
of the building, essentially.
Got it.
And there's a lot of different things that qualify that as vacant land and other things. But think of it in a nutshell, that's what it is. So taking an apartment complex that's maxed out, highest and best use, and in disrepair, you're probably not going to meet this requirement. You basically need to be putting sticks in the ground and building.
Got it.
So, and that's why we love it, because we're developers, and it incentivizes us to work with our borrowers, our lenders, to get them a higher rate of return based on not paying taxes over the long run.
So the main benefits come on the development side of things.
Yeah,
ground up type stuff.
Ground up, and it's really going to be quite difficult to qualify without some ground up aspect to your project.
Got it.
Unless you just have a building with major structural defects. There's a few other things. You can't depreciate out value to lower that basis. As soon as you depreciate the building, you nullify it. So you have to actually build it, go through the process, get through your time period, then you can do your depreciation. So there's a few other, we all were thinking of some tricks that we could run, and the IRS came back with their second review, and they were like, no, no, yes, no, lots of no's.
Gave a little more guidelines, a little more clarity.
So,
do you think that also applies to adding more units or adding more square footage?
Yeah.
Or is it scrape and build, or is it buy raw land and build?
So you can add more units and likely get there in many scenarios. I haven't looked at it from a standpoint of adding more units because none of our projects consist of that.
Right.
Ours are scrape and build. So we're clearing the basis many-fold.
No problem. Right.
Yeah.
But it really sounds like it just comes down to the dollar amount.
Comes down to that dollar amount. That's really what it comes down to.
Okay.
So
just making sure that you qualify based on the amount of money that you're putting back into the project.
Yeah, and consultants, permit fees, it's not just hard labor and materials. Can go into that value. Total dollars in.
I want to talk about why this is so exciting in a minute. But first, why don't you tell me a little bit about how you kind of got into this? Because I know you've been doing development deals for a long time. And I know that you're very savvy when it comes to zoning and picking up discrepancies and things like that. So how did you move in the direction of the opportunity zone stuff? And then we'll talk about why you're so excited about it.
I'm always looking for ins and outs of the tax code. So you can get updates on the IRS website. This one came out really strong in September of last year, even though it had been on the board prior to that. It really came out hard with a big Forbes article and a big Entrepreneur Magazine article. Got it in front of me. I just happened to get incredibly lucky, and I went into escrow 3 days prior to that article coming out on 2 parcels that were in the opportunity zone.
Wow.
So that article came out. I looked at them. I realized that they were.
And this was just coincidence.
That was coincidence right there. So from there, I actually went out and started prospecting for properties nearby to acquire them. And we were actually able to bring in another lot.
Yeah.
So.
Damn. On that project, you just added more.
Yeah, just adding more to it. We were looking at the property. It was one of several properties we were looking at. And the reason we were actually looking at it, and goes back to the zoning, was I was looking at it because they were reducing the parking in this neighborhood and they were doubling the density. At the same time, Opportunity Zone came across. I was able to go from a 13-unit project to a 26-unit project.
And explain why that happened, how that was...
So there was a city council action that was on the board and been up for a while.
Okay.
And the groundswell on it through the community was that it was going to get through. We were fortunate enough to lock up the property at its 13-unit price with the hope that we would be able to add an additional 30 units.
So you had an idea this might happen.
Yeah.
But when you put the money down and put the contract in, you weren't certain.
Yeah, and there was a series of events that actually happened that same day. We were actually buying it to Airbnb it up until the point that we started construction, and that was the day they got rid of short-term rentals in San Diego. And I did a lot of our transactions can be very quick, so I did 100% deposit on this project. So we paid day one within 24 hours. We had to wire 100% of the purchase price. It was in foreclosure. There was a bunch of attorneys involved. So we wired our money in. It was released at like 12:30. And by 9:30 that night, we got word that short-term rentals were no longer allowed in San Diego.
Wow.
So that all switched, and we've been able to short-term rent them right now, which is part of our hold strategy while we get permits because it takes a while. But yeah, so we had that mixed with a few other factors, and so far, everything's gone our way on it, despite that initial hiccup. That was kind of a fun one.
Crazy. And then really, I mean, fortunate at the same time because it really is going to end up working out in your favor because had that law passed and then you went to buy that 13 unit, you would probably ended up paying
much more.
A lot more.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It becomes a much more valuable property at that point, obviously, because there's so many more units you can build on it. And I have less construction cost, and I can actually pop into that real quick if you want me to explain that difference.
Yeah.
So this is something that we like the micro units, we like our pre-manufactured units, and we like to have a certain amount of parking because when you look at a project, let's just say you're looking at a 1,200 square foot property. You have to build 1,200 square feet of it. You also have to build all your navigatable space on the outside for it. It's 1,200 square feet versus a 600 square foot unit. Has more navigatable square footage that you're not counting into your cost. City of San Diego, you have to build 2 parking spots with that. So now you have 425 more square feet that you're giving up elsewhere to build it. So when you're looking at your per square foot cost, you're not even seeing what it's really costing you. As you go down smaller, up until you hit about 300 square feet, between 400 and 450, you're getting about $3.90 a square foot. And I'm only building 100 square foot of parking per each one, and I have far less navigatable space.
So you're maximizing a lot more.
I'm maximizing it much more. I go to that 1,200 square foot, I'm getting around $275 a square foot in rent, but I'm building an additional 500 square feet elsewhere that you're not even capturing in that. So if I can get into highly dense areas and build highly dense with commuting available to it, I can just crush the rental game.
And this is like a very new strategy, right?
Very new. Yeah.
These micro units are very, I don't know of any that are in the city that are already built, unless...
There are some about a block and a half from us right now.
Okay.
And it's really funny. Most people don't even know they're there. They're on the other side of Petco.
Okay.
And they were the first ones. So, and then there's a few more, 6 blocks that way.
And just to kind of explain what that means is basically as San Diego and any other big city grows and becomes more dense, they're building and approving smaller units because there's only so much left where you can build new stuff or build ground up. So they're allowing for less square footage per unit to be approved.
Yeah.
And the idea is more co-living style facilities with just smaller rooms where you would be like the private area.
And it's also when you're downtown and you're going highly dense, you're looking in San Diego, depending upon where you're at and what your soil's like, between 50 and 60, as high as $65,000 per parking stall in cost. If you're using commuting and other ways of getting people around town, you're reducing that cost dramatically. So the big difference too is micro units over here, they're either 50 or 75% affordable they're incentivizing us. We're doing 10% affordable because they did it prior to the code. So it entices the developers because it's really hard to build at 50 to 75% affordable, which is super hard. It's hard.
Because the numbers don't pencil.
It just doesn't pencil. You can't make it work.
Very interesting. Do you see that being a big wave moving forward? Is that a big
I think it's
opportunity?
just like anything. We can't build only micro units.
Of course.
So
Right.
I have units going out at the same time in another part of town that are 1,000 square feet, 3-bedroom, 2 baths.
Yep.
We've used a different model on those. And then I have 2 parking spots per, but I won't put them on a podium. So it still works for us there, and that's what that market demands. Down here, young professional is huge demand for young professional living.
Right.
You can put them in units like this that'll work, and they'll love it. It's not the desire to have 1,200 square feet if you're a bachelor inside your house in your mid-20s.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense.
And if you live and work downtown,
Just hop on your bike.
just need a place to crash.
Yeah. When I was in my 20s, I wasn't home. So,
Yeah, ultimately, I mean, it's different strokes for different folks, right? Like, I wouldn't want to live there. I'm not going to live in a micro unit. You're not going to live in a micro unit. Most people aren't going to live in a micro unit. But those people, there's a little sliver of the market that's going to be perfect for.
100%.
And as a developer, it gives you an opportunity to capitalize on a new market.
Yeah, 100%. So I think it makes a ton of sense.
What sort of projects are you working on right now in the opportunity zone?
So we acquired 3 duplexes all next to each other on separate lots. We're assembling that to make one property. It's pretty cool. We own all the east-west lots. So it's north-south and east-west street. So we own the whole swath. And we're going to be building 26 micro units on it. Really cool, navigatable space, common area. We have some really good trees that we're actually going to work around. 26 micro units of views of downtown. Super cool, within blocks of downtown, essentially. Just outside in what would be considered a fringe area that is no longer fringe. And that goes back to my 2010 comment. In 2010, this neighborhood wasn't doing so well. Now it's doing fantastic.
Right.
And so when we found out it was opportunity zone and what that meant and all those things, we looked around and we have a new housing development across from us. We have a 30-unit complex of 1,000 square foot units going up down the street. And we're sitting here going, wait, we're opportunity zone by one parcel?
Isn't that unbelievable?
And it's, the benefit's amazing. So,
well, congratulations. That's obviously very exciting. Where do you see in this opportunity zone time span, where do you see the biggest opportunities?
Biggest opportunities right now are in San Diego, Los Angeles, Oakland. There's a few spots in New York, and then a few spots in Florida that I see that are hottest. There's some in Arizona too, not quite. I'd put them more like B plus tier. In Tempe, Apache. I don't know if you're familiar. Apache is in the opportunity zone. That's insane. You're right next to the college.
Right.
Short-term rentals, baseball players, just a thought if anyone wants to do that.
Yeah.
So I'm seeing that, and the reason why is the biggest benefit of the opportunity zone is after 10 years, you pay no tax on the appreciated value at all. There's several, probably 8,300 of the zones are in cash flow rich 8 cap, 9 cap neighborhoods throughout middle America that exist all over the place.
Right.
If I'm looking for highest appreciation to get that tax benefit, I don't need high cash flow. I need high appreciation at the end when I sell the asset. So I would not go towards those zones because I want to see the highest net gain at the end.
Highest exit.
Yeah.
So you like the higher end markets because of that reason?
Yeah, because I see the greatest appreciation upside. Obviously, when you have the greatest appreciation upside, you have the greatest risk. But I enjoy the risk and we manage it. So that's what our job is. So
very cool.
Yeah, that's where I see the highest value, and that's why those markets in particular, for what I'm looking at, are the hottest.
You mentioned it's basically for developing, right? So is there Any properties that are excluded or
Yes.
okay.
Yeah. So gambling, anything that I believe if it's more than 50%, it might even be 30% of your income comes from alcohol or tobacco. You can't have bars, you can't have any adult stores, strip clubs, anything like that. Anything, think of it when you were a little kid, if your mom called it a vice, you can't build that.
Yeah. Okay.
And those are really it in a nutshell. So basically, you can't build a casino in an opportunity zone, and you can't build a bar. So, but you could build a restaurant. You just can't get the majority of your revenue from alcohol sales.
Okay, makes sense. So I think we kind of already touched on it earlier, but I want to get into the tax stuff, and I want to read you the way I understand it.
Yeah.
And then you can kind of add your thoughts. So the main three things that seem exciting about opportunity zones is one, deferral on taxes through 2026, right? So if you're to roll over a property, you could get into one of these types of deals and not pay any taxes till 2026. Second, no tax on gains, 10% discount if you hold it for 5 years, and 15% deferred gains if you hold it for 7 years.
Yeah, and there's a couple caveats on there too.
Okay, well, we're going to get into each one of these. And then number three, and I think this is the biggest one, is no tax on appreciation if you hold it for 10 years.
Yeah, that's the big one. So the deferral of 10% at 5 years, as long as you've reached 5 years by December 31st, 2016, yes. Because this plan goes into 2046, but if you buy in an opportunity zone in 2027, you only get the benefit of the after 10 years. What that means right now is if you want to get the 7-year benefit, the 15% reduction, you have to buy before December 31st. So you have to be in your asset by then this year to get that 15%. Because everyone has their taxes due off of that end year date.
Oh, so if you don't do it by the end of this year,
you won't get to the 7 years.
You won't hit the 7-year mark.
You won't hit the 7 years. Yeah, exactly. It expires. So, and that's one of the things most people are confused on right now. That means 2 years.
Which is smart on their part because they're getting people to take action now, which is what they want.
Yeah, and that's the idea is to get it to happen now. So the 5 years, that's 2.5 years from now. If you haven't gotten in, you won't get that 10%. So it pushes it again. So we'll see waves, I'm sure.
Yeah.
From there, the 10-year, awesome because you get that appreciation. But there's another trick here that if you have a 1031 client who's sitting there and they're going, I have all of my principal and I have to transfer all my principal and all my equity into the next asset, you don't with a qualified opportunity zone. You only have to transfer your gains.
Oh, so you can cash out part of it.
You can cash out part of it, which is something you couldn't do before.
Right.
Which, as you know, in the business of finding leads and doing stuff like that, we have a dial on who our prospect is right now. So that's a big one. Because I've run into that before with clients looking to sell, and they're like, oh, but I got this big nut in here. I don't want to move the whole thing over.
Right.
And you can't piece it.
So that could be the sale of anything, right? Real estate, a business, stocks, whatever.
Yeah.
You cash that out, and then you have 180 days to locate an asset in an opportunity zone, and then you pull the trigger on buying that.
Yeah.
You're basically rolling that right on over.
Few legal steps in between there, getting it set up so it's technically a fund and it's purchased appropriately.
Not to cut you off there, I'm actually glad you bring that up. We are not attorneys or CPAs, and this should not be considered tax advice, but we're just kind of going over the broad strokes so people understand. So you have 180 days to select from when you sell whatever asset you're going to roll over. And then I think the real huge benefit there is if you have, let's say, $1 million, whatever, piece of real estate business, you sell it, you get $1 million to take into the next project, where if you're taxed on that and you give that up, then you're losing a large percentage of it, which gives you less leverage into the next deal.
Less bullets.
So now you're getting the full $1 million to roll over, and you're getting these other tax benefits. So even if you're getting a small return on that extra, whatever, 300 grand on $1 million, that can make a significant
huge
difference on your bottom line on the return.
Now, there is another trick here that a lot of people miss. That is only 180 days if it's in your name. If it's an LLC or an S Corp, not a C Corp, actually different, same thing, 180 days. You get 180 days from your corporate tax year. So, if you sold January 2nd of this year, a corporation, you wouldn't have to be done within 180 days. It'd be 180 days from whenever your tax year is. So if your tax year is December 31st, it'd be 180 days from there, which also allows us in our prospecting to expand that bandwidth and also go to somebody and say, hey, don't spend that money.
Right.
We're going to help you get this with XYZ. It's even more powerful.
Extra benefit
That came out in the second review. And that's just huge for business owners.
That's great.
And you can also buy into a qualified opportunity zone. Business doesn't have to be a piece of real property.
Right, yeah. Good distinction.
Yeah,
I
that's just that's where I work, so that's what I know.
Yeah, very cool. So there's that whole rollover thing, which can give you a higher return on that money that you're rolling over. Then there's the no tax on 10% of the gain if you hold it for at least 5 years.
Correct.
And then if you happen to hit the 7-year mark, which you can do by buying before the end of this year, December 31st, 2019, then you'll hit an extra 5%.
Yeah.
So you can essentially save taxes on 15% of the gains just by going opportunity zone versus non.
Exactly. When you look at it from the perspective of like a 1031 and this, if you get a qualified opportunity zone asset that makes sense, this is so powerful because you can take your principal out, you can move only over your capital gains, and then you can reduce that value by 15%.
Yeah.
It's
crazy.
You just open this up, pull it out, shut it, and then do it. You don't even need it. You don't need a brain. It's easy.
Yeah. Was that the no-brainer analogy?
That was the no-brainer. It was a little clunky.
All right, I love it. And then third, and I think this is actually by far the biggest benefit, is that no taxes on appreciation if you hold it for 10 years.
Yeah.
Any caveats or restrictions there?
You have to meet that 31-month redevelopment.
Right. Yep, the money in.
Other than that, no.
And just to recap that, if I have $1 million project and I'm putting 300 down, I need to commit to an extra 600K in redevelopment, roughly.
If the building was worth 600. If the building was worth 900, you got to put in another 900.
Got it.
So whatever the basis, the asset, the basis of that, you have to increase that.
And that's why you're saying it makes more sense on ground up versus existing structure.
That's the big key.
So 10-year tax-free development.
10-year tax-free. So essentially you go to sell. Since we live in the lovely state of California, you pay your taxes to the state of California.
Yep.
And you're done. You have to realize, too, that let's just say you put $1 million in. You already paid it on that $1 million just as before.
Yep.
And now let's say you take out another additional $1 million. You're just going to pay your money to the state of California on that. Rest of it, federal, everything, done.
All free and clear.
You can now move that around more freely than you could if it was a 1031.
Right.
So don't forget
or just cash out at that point.
Yeah.
And it's all yours. Keep the whole thing.
Cash out.
I love cashing.
Weird.
Okay, cool. And I did also see one caveat around 2046. The year 2046.
Yeah, you got to sell it by 2046.
Okay.
So we will be big buyers in 2046.
Right.
Because people will need to sell.
They must sell.
So it's already on my calendar. It's in my Google Calendar. Buy assets.
Perfect. Put that in your calendar too, because that's going to be a big year for real estate. What has this done to property values in the markets that you're studying?
So we've seen 25 to 30% increases.
Wow.
In those markets. Some fake, some real, because some people are buying single-family homes, and then you can't extract the value. There's no value to extract there. I mean, it's you can't get enough money back in. So we've seen that. It's made them more competitive, but truthfully, and this is why it is, just leaning back on the other side of the people I work with, it's really important to have good realtors and good brokers managing your assets, because I see stuff that's not even denoted as qualified opportunity zone still today.
So that's someone's broker or agent not letting the seller know that they're in an opportunity zone,
and
or
I'm
just being
assuming
unaware
they don't.
themselves.
I'm just assuming they don't know. There's
Right.
nothing that, unfortunately, it's not like when you pull into like a neighborhood, they're like, "Welcome to Barrio Logan,
Right.
a qualified opportunity
Right.
zone."
Yeah, exactly.
So, and the other thing too is educating the buyers and sellers on what it is also key too. It's how we've seen some properties change hands. It's how we maybe acquired some of our other properties.
I was going to say, so is that an opportunity for people to be looking for?
Oh, yeah.
Is things that aren't labeled opportunity zone, even if they're in an opportunity zone?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Some are getting the fringe benefit of wondering why their house is sold for more. I also see people completely putting the wrong information out about what it means. You know, buy now, no taxes in 10 years. It's like that.
Yeah, not knowing the caveats. And all
So
that.
that's always interesting to see. But yeah, no, definitely it's something for people to look for when they're looking.
So speaking of looking, how, because obviously these qualified opportunity zones are very exciting and provide a lot of value for investors and value for sellers that are currently sitting on these types of properties. So where do you go to find where these qualified opportunity zones are?
Yeah, so I don't even know if you know this. I run qualifiedopportunityzoneinfo.com.
Oh, good for you. Crafty.
You can search any address in the United States on my website, on my locator. Just click on locator when you land on the page, and it'll show you if the property is qualified or not. From there, you can zoom in and out of it and look at all of the different zones. Great. And find everything. If you want to do a search, if you're prospecting, you can do a search by census district. Just go to my page, click the link for census districts. It'll take you straight to the IRS page.
That's
where
great.
You can download the Excel spreadsheet.
And what's the domain one more time?
It's qualifiedopportunityzoneinfo.com.
Qualifiedopportunityzoneinfo.com. Definitely check that out.
And hopefully it's been getting a lot more traffic. So hopefully it starts ranking a little bit better.
Right.
We have a really good website name. So I'm hoping, because that's how people type it in.
Yep.
That's our locator is awesome. It's we were able to actually pull it and embed it directly from the IRS. So they allow it. And if somebody else wants to do this, they could obviously do that too. But I've learned a lot.
Might be an opportunity there as well. Yeah. You put all the information, you make it easier to find, and it's what, based on tract number or by neighborhood or street by street?
It's by tract number, and tracts are usually like one tract goes from 25th to 30th from Broadway to Market. So if that gives you a visualization, knowing San Diego, it's probably a quarter mile by quarter mile.
But there are situations where someone could be on one side of the street or the other, and they're either in or they're out.
100%. So we have, from us, directly across the street is for sale. I'm assuming they're basing it off of some of the stuff that's sold on the other side of the street, and they're getting no love, and everything on our side selling like crazy.
Yeah.
And it's literally, I mean, you walk down the street, you can't tell that it's a dividing line by any metric. So it's pretty cool in that way.
Yeah. And so when you're studying all these zoning things that you're looking at, where are you learning about this stuff, and what are some zoning things that you would recommend that people know, at least to know enough to be dangerous for when they're out talking to people?
The best thing to do, and the hardest thing with zoning, is there is no easy application of it. There's no universal tool right now. And it's one of the reasons why specialization and development's very key. Find the opportunity zones in your local area, pull your farm, see if you have any in it. If not, look for what's near you, and quite literally type in your address of the center of your farm, find it on that map that I have, and then just start zooming back, and you'll see it start appearing where the opportunity zones are. Find that area, find the planning committee that's in that area. It's going to be on whatever government website you have, and start reading their notes, and then just go to the meeting. there's like 5 of us that attend these meetings.
Right.
And we discuss everything that's going to happen. Literally everything. And it's 5 of us, 5 of us, 5 of us, 200 people because there's something on the agenda that everyone's really mad about.
Right.
5 of us, 5 of us, 5 of us, 5 of us.
Like no Airbnbs, then there's 1,000 people there.
Yeah, but it's all those meetings in between.
And this is the planning commission, you said.
So this is going to be like your community planning group.
And,
so
and that was actually my next question was, is this county-wide?
No.
Or is this city by city?
So like knowing San Diego, I'll give you an example. So there's Gaslamp, there's Metro, there's North Park, there's an area for Barrio, there's one for National City. Those are all separate.
Got it.
It's different groups. Then National City not being included, there's a main planning commission that happens at the city that goes over all the broader strokes.
Got it.
But
So there's one big one for the county, and then each city
there's actually
and area.
There's actually 19 big ones in our county. There's no major county except for like I think Sandag comes in to play with that stuff, but they actually don't have any control over anything that's incorporated.
So if you're trying to keep your finger on the pulse of this stuff, which I know you're really good at, you're not going to all 19 of these, right?
No,
how are you?
You're finding where the hot area is in your town, and that's going to require you having your ear to the ground.
Right.
And then you're going to that planning committee
Okay.
and finding out. And maybe you're doing 2 or 3. So like if I wanted to go see what was going on from like, not from Bay Park, from Bankers Hill all the way over to North Park, I'm going to 2 groups. So
Bankers
that way,
Hill and North Park.
yeah.
Got
So
it.
I'm going to those 2 groups to find out what's going on. That's a good arterial line, which is what I look for with development, is where are the buses going, follow the buses, and then build 1 or 2 blocks off of them.
Oh, that's a good tip. If you didn't pick that up, that's a really good tip.
Yeah, I need buses for
So
my
just
places.
to repeat what you just said, you're finding the arterial lines of where the buses go.
Yeah.
Because that's easy
Zoning,
commuting for your
commuting,
people.
everything.
And you know they're going into areas that they're trying to, put money behind.
Yep.
And then you're buying 2 blocks off of that,
Yeah.
and you're looking in those areas.
Yeah, and that's quite literally if you're looking for high density development in undeveloped areas, that's the way to do it. It's funny, that actually is a really good tip. I didn't even know that.
That's a great tip, man. Thank you for that. Okay, so you're going to those 2, the North Park and the Bankers Hill, those 2 meetings, and then are you going to also the San Diego one, the bigger one?
Only if there's a vote.
Okay.
If there's a vote and I'm going to put my name in to speak just as a member of the public.
And this is at these meetings, what are they discussing? They're discussing everything that's going to happen or
No.
specific agenda?
Only broad stroke stuff. So there can be some community time at the beginning, but it's usually all the communities have discussed. They like this transit priority area deal. So we're going to vote on getting rid of parking in these areas and doing this. So everyone that's mad about it, come talk about it. Everybody that's happy about it, come talk about it. And we're going to vote.
And you're just going there to listen?
Going to listen, and I'm going to speak usually.
Speak, okay.
Yeah, so you'll get a minute. You can get someone else to cede you another minute. So you can talk for 2 minutes and basically plead your case to the members of the council, why it's a good idea. A bunch of us developers went when they were doing transit priority area, and we're like, hey, let us mess up by not building parking. Don't stop us.
That's very interesting. Yeah, that's a good way to keep your finger on the pulse of the development stuff that's coming.
Yeah, and the bigger stuff, because that's just when you find out that it's going to be done.
Right.
The biggest stuff happens in the community. The biggest stuff. And if you want to have some groundswell, that's the way to do it. And it's really getting in there and having those conversations to push ideas that are working with what you feel will be beneficial. And I think it's really important too. A lot of people are like big bad developer. Truth of the matter is we don't want to build something that people hate.
Of course.
We want people to like it more than anything else and to pay us as much money as possible to stay there. The motives aren't just to build, it's to get people to like stuff and want to keep coming there.
Right.
So
it's like an artist. That's your piece of art. It's going to be in the public's eye forever.
Yeah.
So why would you not want to, build stuff people really love?
Exactly.
Very cool. We need another beer, real quick, if you don't mind. So back from a brief intermission, we had to refill our beers, and today I'm actually enjoying a Gravity Heights change, After a brief intermission, we're coming back and we got our beers refilled. Those are some great tips on kind of the planning commissions. And I know that one thing you also mention a lot is the Urban Land Institute. What's the difference between those two? And tell us a little bit more about that as far as keeping your finger on the pulse in your local area and kind of learning, networking with the right people in your market.
For me, I actually just joined Urban Land Institute, and one of the reasons why I joined it was a lot of the guys that I do business with and network with and are doing big things, they were all members.
Okay.
And they kept telling me to join, so I joined.
Okay. Usually when a lot of successful people tell you to do something, you should do it.
Yeah. So they have, podcasts, classes, all sorts of stuff. But then for me, I love the networking aspect of the business. Right. I think it's huge part of any business, doesn't matter what industry you're in. They have the monthly networking breakfast, and then they usually do an event as well. Okay. So I'm just starting to go to those. And that's just where you really meet the people that are out there doing the same thing, taking some of the same risks, placing the same bets. I like talking to chip sliders versus outsiders,
Ooh.
So that's a big thing for me. That one just happened right now.
Yeah, that's a good one. We're going to put that in the quote section.
So it's far better to be around people that are, really in the game. The first time I did Airbnb, just to give you an example, people told me everything that was going to go wrong. And then I asked them how many units they had, and they didn't have any.
Right.
Same thing happens with development. When I got into it, everyone, oh, that's crazy. This is insane. Can't believe you're taking that risk. And I see having a W-2 job as a risk personally. Yeah. And I don't knock on it by any means, but I like to be in control of my destiny, and that just means I take risk. So
yeah, amen to that.
Yeah.
Would you recommend that someone get into both of those as far as if development is a path they want to go down and or they service a lot of development clients?
Yeah, I would say so. There is a barrier of entry to ULI. So there's definitely, if you can manage that barrier of entry of it's a pay to play, and you can do it, yeah, I'd recommend it. Up front, not as important if you're just trying to get your toes in the water. Community groups, being on that ground level. And we've been developing for 6 years now, and I just joined. And it's the next step in the game for us. It didn't have to be the first step.
Got it.
First step is definitely knowing your community plan.
Getting down there
and learning it and seeing what's going on
with the people making the decisions.
Yeah, 100%. So,
and one thing you said, you speak every time. Like, what are you speaking on?
So if there's something that's being voted on, you get seated time. You sign in, and you get time, and you basically speak for or against it.
On whatever the topic is that time.
Yeah. So yesterday was raising the fees for development. I didn't get down there, but other developers I know did. And they spoke against it. For reducing parking, we went to speak for it.
Got it.
So it really depends on which direction the wind's blowing. And
so at the beginning, someone can just kind of go attend the meeting, listen to what people are saying, meet people, and then as they start to work with more developers and get their own developments maybe going, then they can start actually influencing decisions, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. And it's much more influence than you have on any other level in the community. If there's a vote for mayor, you're just a vote. You don't have really a voice unless you start a whole coalition and do all sorts of stuff. Mm-hmm. With this, you can go in and write impactful speeches. I've done some speeches that, we write them concisely, that I felt like really hit the point and made a difference. I've written speeches where I thought someone was going to throw me out of the building. So one of the best speeches I ever wrote actually was my worst speech. And I didn't know it was bad until I did it. I was so proud of it.
As you're in the middle of it, you're like, wait a minute.
Yeah, I know. When I turned around and everyone said boo, it was pretty hilarious. Wow. So yeah, it was my development and how we're the next Uber. Did not go over well.
Didn't go well, huh?
Did not go well.
We'll have to see the recording of that one. It
is online.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. So just Google around. You might be able to find it. So just to put a bow on the zoning thing, if someone's interested in learning more about the zonings in their community, Planning Commission is a great place. Are there any other like resources that you would recommend?
There's no universal resource right now.
Okay.
The most universal resource would be ULI because they're all over.
Right.
But if you're in a small town, not even a small town, a mid-sized town, you're probably not going to have a ULI. So it needs to be, it's urban land development institute.
Big metro areas.
Yeah, big metro areas. Certain parts of Riverside that aren't even, within 10 miles of the city center of Riverside aren't even going to be affected by ULI activity. So with those, you really just want to find out what your community plan is and see what's going on. And that's really the best way. It's one of the hardest and most difficult things about development is the specialization. One of the things that I didn't know when I started is how specialized it is.
Yeah. So if you have a property that you're looking at and you want to know how it's zoned, what potential zoning things could be, attached to it, what's the go-to spot?
In basically San Diego to the Inland Empire, you can do Scout Red.
What was that?
Scout Red.
Scout Red.
Yeah, that'll do it for you. Los Angeles, if you search Los Angeles zoning, it takes you to their website. Actually, probably one of the most thorough websites. I just looked at a property on that, and I was shocked at the amount of free data available.
Right. Good job, LA.
Yeah, it's one thing.
Yeah. Now you got to figure out the traffic.
Yeah. If I were to go in and find it, I would search my city name and zoning at the end of it.
Got it.
And this is a pain point that I've been trying to fix for 3 years. I've wanted to develop a universal website for this, and I've talked to many developers, and I've talked to many people about how to do it. And since there's no clear language outside of just hard work and the ability to update, I don't know how it's going to be possible right now. So they don't speak any. The 19 municipalities in San Diego all have different zoning. So outside of the communities within those, they all have different zoning. They don't speak the same.
And they don't talk to each other,
and
which is unbelievable.
they don't use the same code names.
Right. Of course not.
So it's insane.
Which, in reality, if you think about it, is a blessing and a curse, because it's a curse because it's annoying to find out information about particular properties, but it's a blessing for guys like you that have learned to find things that are zoned improperly, or one side of the street is different than the other, different things like that, and you've been able to build a career out of that.
Yeah, it's been very useful in that way for sure.
Right.
So, yeah, I enjoy that aspect. At the same time, I dislike it because it means that we're really centralized in city of San Diego. If your address says San Diego on it, we know what's going on, or if your address says National City. So those are our areas.
That's where you're really focusing.
Yeah, that's where
because you can't really focus on more than that.
It's just too hard if you're trying to build anything of discretionary value or anything of significance that requires a vote. And a lot of times projects require a vote if they're going to be worth the kind of money that we want to go after.
Right. And if you're interested in more of the development stuff, me and Andrew did another video on how to be a real estate developer that you can check out on the YouTube channel. That has basically everything that you just mentioned from A to Z, how to do development projects. So that's definitely something that if development is in your blood, something that you could go check out and take advantage of. Tell me about the deal that you're doing right now in the qualified opportunity zone. You have more than one, right? Not the micro unit one.
So we have the micro unit one in contract and being discussed. We have a couple others that are not being discussed.
Got it.
They're in different levels. Basically, as we're permitting, doing preliminary work.
So you're very early stage.
We're early stage. We don't discuss it until we have certain things done.
Yeah.
So.
Which is smart.
Yeah. So.
That's the type of stuff you don't want to let out of the bag. So what about what's next? What are you looking to invest in now?
So right now, I really love pre-manufactured developments.
And for the layman, what does that mean?
think of manufactured homes. We're delivering a home to a site pre-built. We're not delivering walls. We're delivering the home pre-built, 2 to 3 slices, dropping it down on a foundation, and building it out. We have the first approved plan for that.
So just to expand on that, that's like a neighborhood of prefab homes, basically.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So
Okay.
the first project's 10 homes.
Okay.
Just got that approved. So we're finalizing on our demolition with that one. And then we have another one coming. Won't discuss unit count because it's still in permitting, but same scale of that one. And then we have 2 other sites that we're currently negotiating on. Based on a few easements and different things going on, we'll probably land one of the 2, ideally one of the 2. Maybe we land both, but they both have a lot of hair on them. So we're trying to get through that first. But yeah, that's essentially our build costs drops by 40 to 50% when we do that. And based on demographics, available units in the neighborhood, we're generally going to be the premium product. That
So
one
the
will
best
be
stuff in the
really cool.
Right.
Once it's done, I'm really excited. So I'm also a dealer for that.
Nice. Yeah. Very cool. Well, we'll keep definitely everyone in the loop on those projects. I want to come out and do one of your demolition days.
Oh yeah.
So we can kind of go through all that stuff. Someone that wanted to get into the qualified opportunity zones, how would you suggest that they market for that type of thing?
Yeah, no, so this is the cool thing about it. This really is like one of the things that it's just like no. Okay, you could just eat this up. So it's designated by census district. So if you can put that qualifier into your search, you can start. So go to title. I need all these addresses. I need you to keep census district attached to my data. So a lot of people toss census district. They don't care. You go to my website, qualifiedopportunitysoneinfo.com, click on the link to get the Excel spreadsheet of all the opportunity zones. So it goes name, it's city, qualified opportunity zone, and then the district.
Census number or whatever.
Yeah. Go find your districts that you're searching, overlay that data on top of it, now pull it out. What's your cell?
Right.
Your cell is, did you know that you own a property currently located in a qualified opportunity zone? This is what it can do, X, Y, Z. Would that interest you in selling your home? I know people that are looking for qualified opportunity zone info. Same time, pull those same census districts, do a search on who's buying property. You now have your buyers, you now have your sellers. Double end the transaction, stay in the business for 10 plus years, and then sell it again.
That's great, right?
It's the only
there.
downside is you got to hold it for 10 years for that.
So wait, let me just walk through that because I think that's really, really powerful. Pull title on whatever neighborhood you want, whatever city, whatever. Have them include the census tract number. Cross-reference that with the opportunity zones.
Yeah, and I'm assuming you've already cross-referenced down a few of your other qualifiers.
Right.
You know, distressed, out of state.
Have equity, this and that.
And now your unique sales proposition is mind-blowing to them.
Right.
It's, because they're going to start searching stuff. By the time this podcast comes out, I will have something up there for sellers on my blog about this so agents can reference this for their clients on the value of what it is. Because anyone can sell a home, and I don't mean that in a demeaning way.
Right, yeah.
Anyone can sell a home, but can you sell it for its maximum value based on having the buyer and knowing exactly what it's worth and taking it to them? I mean, Well,
that's the part where you just blew my mind right there is you can find the seller, but now you're also reverse engineering that same census tract number with all the cash sales.
Yeah.
And now you've got cash buyers that are looking for those exact kind of properties. So if you can get one of them to raise your hand, there's a good chance you've already can find a buyer relatively easily.
Oh, yeah. Really.
Because that buyer's already buying those type of properties in that neighborhood for cash.
A really smart guy named Kent taught me that.
Yep. Shout out to Ken Clothier.
Yeah.
It's great move.
So it's very unique. If you've done the work to understand the zoning, you know that this lot and this lot are not the same, and this is the story of this lot. When someone comes to me and they go, Andrew, this is an RM3-9 lot. It's on an alley. It's a center lot. We have this much frontage, this. You already have XYZ completed for development. Would you be interested in writing an offer? Yes. You know, if they say it's XYZ and they've given me all that data, if I'm not interested in buying it, do you think if someone's trying that hard, I'm not going to refer them to the guy that's going to buy it?
Right.
And I would guess 9 out of 10 times, if a property like that lands on my desk, I know the buyer.
Right. Because if it's not you, it's someone you know.
I know exactly who it is.
Right.
I know who's building that, and I know who wants that lot.
And that's almost the same in every city with every developer all across the U.S.
100%.
Because it's a small community of the people that are actually building most of the stuff.
Incredibly small. There's probably 15 of us.
Yeah.
And I know all 15, and there's probably another 5 to 10 that come and go who aren't the big guys, not the big guys out there, but the guys that are doing the urban infill stuff. Bring your value to the table for someone, and you're just going to keep getting everything.
It's great. It's a great tip. Really powerful. So are there any downsides to the opportunity zones?
Got to hold it for 10 years.
So that's just a liquidity issue,
Liquidity issue.
If you need your money before then, it might not be a good fit. But if you're planning to hold for a long time, it's a go. It's a no-brainer.
Is it overpriced because of that? All of the things that you need to evaluate a regular asset off of, you have to do in the opportunity zone too. So you don't want to just buy it because it's opportunity zone, because if it doesn't make any money, you don't save anything on taxes.
Right. There's no savings necessary. Yeah.
That 10-year plan means that you're going to have to figure out how you're going to finance it and do all that stuff. So you're going to have a level of sophistication. Most developers have it, but there's a level of keeping your real money in that some developers are not happy with.
Right.
I'm like 99% it's good. So it's like, I'm trying to find a reason not to like it. So
that's great.
Yeah.
It's really great. A lot of really great stuff on there. One thing I like to ask everyone before we wrap up is, what are some of your favorite tools that you like to, facilitate your day-to-day, things that make your life easier, things that you couldn't live without in the development space?
My biggest tool right now, I use Work App, just kind of like Trello on steroids.
What is it, Work App?
Work App, so it's Work EP at the end of it. It's like Trello on steroids, like that.
Tell me more about that, because I'm a Trello guy. So
I found Trello because of you. And then after using it, they somehow figured out I was using it and started marketing to me on Work App. And the thing I like about Work App is it ties directly into my Gmail. So I can create my files. So I have my boards. And as I'm repeating a board, I can pull it down, repeat it, rename it, enter it, and then create the file. And it'll create the file in my drive immediately and then start building it. So I just click, I need to create a template here for this. Drops the template in, starts doing it, and it builds the folder in my drive. Cool. So now when I'm in my drive, I can go straight to it, or I can build it straight from there. Either way, I can access it.
Can you email in stuff?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is pretty cool.
They're pretty bad on the phone application right now. So that's the only downside. Yeah, so that would be my big one. And then I'm also, I think that Facebook ads, like if you don't know it, learn it.
Or pay for someone who already knows it really well.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, because that's hard to learn. It's a lot to learn, and they change it all the time.
Yeah, and if you don't retarget and you don't pixel people, you are literally riding a horse instead of driving a car.
Yeah.
Like, do
100%
that.
100% agree. At the very least, put a Facebook pixel on your website so that when people hit your website, you can now at least have the ability to collect that information.
Until you hire somebody.
And follow them around with ads when you eventually run them.
And you can do that for $1 a day.
Yeah.
Agents that bring me deals or agents that are active, bring them to the site through different portals or get them engaged on different videos or append data for them. I set it up for $1 a day just to keep them in front of them. And I rarely spend $1 because it's such a small niche, but they all remember me all the time.
Yep.
It's
Power of retargeting.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
You can become a celebrity within a very small niche. I mean, with a lot of money, you could do it in a big niche, but.
Yeah. Well, then you got to back up the truck.
Yep.
Cool, man. Well, I really appreciate it. A lot of great info on opportunity zones. Is there anything else that you want to, if people want to learn more or get in touch with you, anything you want to plug?
You can always reach me at Andrew@Thomas-Strafford, that's 2 F's, no T, .com. You can always hit me up with anything over there. QualifiedOpportunityZoneInfo.com. Hit me on the contact form there as well.
Perfect.
I'm the easiest person in the world to find if you just Google my name.
Yep, just Google Andrew Greer. You'll find him for sure.
I'm not the singer.
You have a singer too,
Yeah,
huh?
I have a singer,
man. There's a lot of singers out there. Well, I really appreciate it, man. Cheers. Thanks for everything. If you like the show, go ahead and subscribe. If you thought it valuable, hit the like button. It really helps the algorithm do its magic. And if you have any questions, comment. Andrew, I'm sure, is happy to answer any comments.
Oh, yeah. I always hop on.
Awesome. And we'll see you on the next episode of Founders Club.